You know, what's so incredible about the archaeologist Spade is that you think about some of the discoveries that are quite recent. If I've got this right in my head, in 2004, you have the discoveries of the Pool of Siloam and the Pool of Bethesda, or maybe it was just the Pool of Siloam. And when you look at the details that John gives in his gospel, you find that the descriptions that he provides match specifically with the details of what archaeology has discovered.
Oh, you're absolutely right. 30 years ago, I started going to Israel. I've made it a habit since. I've gone almost every year. I've been a volunteer digger at various dig sites right there in Jerusalem. I know several archaeologists, including the one you just mentioned, Rami Arav, who has been involved in the excavation of the Pool of Siloam, and he's working at Bethsaida and other places. And I go there and I see it, and there it is. And this is the place talked about in the Gospel of John. And nobody knew exactly where it was until, as you just said, 2004. But John said it was there. And there have been many other discoveries same way. You know, we can talk about Magdala, which only recently was discovered, 2010, the actual first century Magdala, where Mary, one of Jesus' disciples, was from. We can talk about Cana of Galilee, ongoing work at Nazareth. You realize, Hank, and I know you know this, but there are some skeptics who say Nazareth didn't even exist. It's a made-up thing. Well, the name Nazareth is inscribed in stone. I mean, it just keeps piling up, and that's why I think right out of the gate you got to say, hey, the Bible writers know what they're talking about. They're talking about real history, real people, real places, real events, and that's why historians and archaeologists make use of the biblical literature because they find it again and again reliable.
And this is so different when you start thinking about other holy books. And I've often said that contrast is the conduit to clarity. And if you look at what archaeology has done to holy books like the Book of Mormon or the Quran, it's as though with virtually every turn of the archaeologist's spade, there's more and more evidence piled up against them. And precisely the opposite is true with the Bible. The more we dig into the dirt, the more we discover that the people, the places, and the particulars that are discussed in Scripture correspond to reality.
That's absolutely true. And, you know, we're talking about archaeology, where you unearth things, you mostly find stone and metal and that sort of thing. But we can also talk about ancient manuscripts that are discovered. I'm thinking of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I could go on for the whole program talking about how the scrolls have set the record straight. Now, we're talking about our generation. I'm talking about some scroll fragments published only in the early 90s that took a long time to come out, and they obliterated several theories that had been held in critical circles for 100 years, and these scrolls just blew them apart. And it turned out, oh, the Gospel of Matthew is correct. Oh, the Gospel of Luke is correct. Oh, guess what? Paul knew what he was talking about after all, and right on down the line. And so I tell you, my warning goes out to the skeptics. Be careful, because you're in a vacuum. What it is we don't have full knowledge about everything. We don't have all the dots sometimes that we want to connect. But as we keep digging, as we keep finding more things, and only 5% of the biblical world has been excavated, and that's mostly just partially. So it's only a fraction of what will be yielded through these researches, and they keep supporting the biblical narratives. Only a fraction of all the manuscripts, the papyri, for example, found in Egypt, only a fraction's been published so far, maybe at most 10%. And as we keep publishing and keep discovering and keep analyzing, these skeptical theories, one after another, gets knocked down, and the minimalists, the mythicists, and all these people are embarrassed. So my word to them is, hey, shut up, back up, read the text, take it seriously, and continue to follow the evidence as it unfolds.
You're listening to an excerpt of episode 93 of the Hank Unplugged podcast with host Hank Hanegraaff. This episode is called Fragments of Truth, Can We Trust the Bible? And is an interview with Dr. Craig Evans. To listen to the episode in its entirety, please click the link in the description below.